Ancient tattoo history throughout the world, part 2, a tattooed Egyptian hooker and a high priestess. Ancient Egypt is a curious case of apparent female-dominated tattoo industry led by healers and high priestesses whose influence trickled down to the lowest social ranks. We know this from the human remains found with tattoos and the murals and pottery left behind with tattooed women on them. In 1891, at the site of Deir el-Bahri near Luxor, a mummy was found covered in tattoos. Her lower abdomen featured a net-like dot pattern. Because of the turn-of-the-century mind frame, she was initially thought to be a consort of Egyptian royalty, as were many of the following found female specimens. The male archaeologists finding these tattooed female specimens could not wrap their head around the fact that they were found in royal burial grounds and labeled them basically sex partners to the pharaoh. They were labeled women of dubious character because of their tattoos. It was very common for these Egyptian women to have the fertility god Bez tattoos on their thighs. These closed-minded male archaeologists deduced that it was a protection against sexually transmitted diseases and unwanted pregnancy. Over 120 years later, archaeologist Anne Austin would prove that these dancers were not just merely entertainment, but likely inside the sacred circle of the pharaoh. The royal women were responsible for the daily administration of the country and consulted with the pharaoh about important decisions. In the interpretation of the mark of Bez, he was associated with a sense of humor and joy in life, encouraged sexuality, assisted in fertility, and protected mothers during childbirth. The association with fertility was not only in regards to reproduction, but also with a fertile country and a bountiful life. This hooker was actually a high priestess named Amunet from the temple of the fertility goddess Hathor. High priestesses in ancient Egypt weren't relegated to celibacy. They often bore children and had families. Because having a baby in ancient Egypt was a high-risk situation, these women would have likely gotten tattooed during a sacred ritual, either prior to becoming pregnant or in the early stages of pregnancy. Remember that net-like dot pattern tattoo on High Priestess Amunet? It was meant to mimic the beaded nets put over Egyptian mummies to kind of keep everything in. These would expand during pregnancy like protective amulets, and were there to assure health and safety before and during childbirth. This is a long story. Follow me for the next video.